Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod. We have Marty Smuin on. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but he's a top guy, CEO at Arturo.ai, board director at multiple organizations, an advisor as well. Rich experience, I would say, from looking at his LinkedIn here in the corporate world, and curious to see what brought him to the entrepreneurial and startup world. So today we're gonna discuss about M&A, how to grow a company, Marty's background, have a bunch of questions for him. This podcast is brought to you by podfire.com. If you want to start a podcast, if you want to monetize a podcast, you can go to podfire.com. We teach you how to make money with podcasts through lead gen, sponsorships money, and AdSense money. We have an ebook, it's free, and a masterclass for you there. Marty, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, first, thanks, Charles, for having me on. I've had the opportunity to watch some of your podcasts, so I really appreciate the opportunity. So I'm running a company by the name of Arturo. Arturo.ai is the website and how you can find us from whatever other Arturos there are out there. I've been in technology for a long time, and I find what I'm doing right now one of the most exciting fields that I've been in a long time, and that's after walking the tightrope of the early days of e-commerce to early days of wireless, as well as big data. Back when we called AI, more deep learning than we did AI, but it's very, very similar. So I've been doing this for a while, and I'm excited to kind of dig into some of the topics that you're going to address today.
So let's start with the early Marty. IAC is the first company you worked at. Then I see 3G Americas. So sort of a start in corporate, right? Like what brought you to the CEO role later on? Like who are you deep inside? Why did you wanted to scale up and up and up?
It's a good question. When I started my career, I was working for the Department of Commerce doing international investment and trade. And, one of the things that I just fell in love with was international business. And so, my criteria for joining another company was, would it allow me to continue doing international business like I had done for the Department of Commerce, which, they're involved in export and trade in a very significant way. So I kind of got to see all aspects of it working with that group. And, launching into the private sector came very early in my career. I mean, I'd only been with the Department of Commerce for a couple of years, but I jumped into the world of e-commerce. And actually started my career, that part of my career, out with QVC, the home, a shopping network in your home. Quality, value, and convenience is what QVC stands for. And they were really and truly, they pioneered e-commerce. They did. They pioneered it, bringing it into your home, but also one of the first internet sites where you could actually transact. And from that, I went with, over and worked for Barry Diller in IAC for several years, doing similar things. But that's where I kind of got into the more in-depth process of doing e-commerce, because we acquired, and I was part of a lot of this. I mean, we acquired a lot of companies at the time, Ticketmaster, Hotels.com, Match.com, I mean, several. And so that kind of just started the ball rolling on the tech side, the heavy tech side, how to facilitate e-commerce. And, I just rode that wave up and through the early days into where we got a little bit more established with it. And, walking through doors. I mean, that's really and truly, the only thing you got to be willing to do is go through a door that's open for you and take the chance. But I loved being in the early days of e-commerce and in the early days of mobile. That was just a ton of fun.
But a lot of people are scared to walk through doors. Is that naturally built into you? What's your risk tolerance as a human being?
So my risk tolerance is very high. but not stupid. I mean, it's the doors open all the time, and you've got to select them very judiciously, but you can't be afraid to make the move. And I always found that I had a lot of mentors around me to kind of help and guide me, that I could bounce stuff off of. I remember when I left IAC, which was a big move, I jumped into a small startup by the name of iDrive. This was in the year 2000. And iDrive was one of the fastest growing internet companies out there. And we basically had a platform that was Napster on steroids. And, the founder of that company and the early executives, which I was one of the early executives in that, I mean, they have gone on to do great things. I mean, they're everywhere that you would recognize some of their names. I mean, but in the early days of me going into a startup, I mean, just a full on raw startup, excitement is what triggered that, and a whole lot of guidance from mentors. But yeah, I don't, hey, when you're 70 years old, start being a little bit conservative. But until then, if you're not running at a rate that makes your heart, really race, then you're wasting your time.
Yeah, your heart drops sometimes. How have you profited from the internet wave in the past 20 years or so?
Oh, I've been with some great companies. I mean, OpenWave and Byte Mobile, Aircom International. I mean, I've been with some really good companies that did some great things. Access is a company out of Japan that I worked with for 3 years. I loved it there. We took that company public on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. OpenWave, if you were in the early days of mobile, OpenWave provided the gateways for most carriers, wireless carriers around the world, whether it's China Mobile, Singtel, Orange, Verizon, AT&T, et cetera. They provided the gateways for all of those. And that was a fun ride. I mean, because, that was a company that when public stock went down, and then I was part of that group that really pushed the stock up and to the right. But, it's interesting. You can have the best ideas in the world. You can have, but if you don't have the people to execute on them, then it just kind of falls by the wayside. But one of the most important elements of what I've hit sometimes, and I missed it sometimes, but it's the timing. It's the timing of being able to not just have payment platforms that one day will work in the early 2000s and all of them die. And then in 2010, 11, and 12, all of a sudden they just resurge and everyone's using payment platforms. Timing is so much of that, right? And just timing things right. That's how you profit, is you get the timing right.
Yeah, my first question was like, how does it feel to be part of a rocket ship? But also, how does it feel to be part of a company that is not launching like a rocket ship and identifying precisely what is missing and feeling also the stress on your shoulders to make it happen, to actually launch it through the stratosphere?
I think, once you've been able to establish product market fit, that's a different trajectory than you're still trying to establish product market fit. And I've been in both worlds. I'm in the product market fit element right now. I mean, we've got Arturo. We provide our technologies for some very large insurance companies and other entities around the world. But there's certain elements of it where we're still really fighting to get that product market fit in. Whereas, I think a really good segment of my life is I came into a company by the name of Weave, which I was on the board of. And, the company was doing nominal amount in ARR and revenue when I joined the company off the board. I came in, joined the company. Had all the mechanics there, all the pieces were there. And, a guy by the name of Brendan Rodman started the company, and he actually started it doing something very different than what it ended up being. Started it off as a call center. And this call center, just iterated itself into a great software platform for customer engagement, or patient engagement, I should say. And that was fun to watch how it morphed turned into this rocket ship and was being accepted by the marketplace just like crazy. I mean, we doubled in growth every year for several years, and then we took the company public. But it takes a lot to get there. And the founders of that company, I was able to work with very closely. And they knew they had something, and they were willing to put the time in to really figure it out and iterate. And that's part of the journey. I mean, that's really part of the journey. Timing is there. I mean, timing was right because there was a technology adoption move in medical that really facilitated, especially within dentists and vets, veterinarians, as well as optometrists. So timing was there, but the technology had to be there as well to kind of, from a timing wise, to fit that opportunity that was being presented in the marketplace.
Is taking a company public a natural part of the hypergrowth journey?
No, standing on the platform at the New York Stock Exchange, it was never like it wasn't a bucket list thing of mine, but I can tell you it was super fun. To be surrounded by the investors that took that ride with you, the executives that took that ride with you, and to share that with them, that was super fun. But, I think, the natural course of a business very rarely leads to going public, right? I mean, that's very rarely. And it more often than not, it leads to iteration after iteration after iteration, and then combining it with some other entity. But that was fun. But certainly, everyone talks about the IPO. Everyone talks about all of that. Most founders make their money on the secondary market. I mean, that is the truth, right? When you get a company that others want and want to be part of, which has spun this whole industry of secondary stock. So, now there's other outlets to benefit significantly for what you've done in your company than taking the company public. There's a lot of other outlets now.
Is the CEO role mostly about making good decisions at scale?
Oh man, I'd love to say absolutely, but I've sat in this seat a few times, and I think the CEO role is more about being able to navigate all of the difficulties that you have to navigate for the company without impacting the people that are trying to actually get the job done. It's the dealing with investors and dealing with the other elements that come along with that is a big part of it. But really, it is, while you go through growth stage, it is making sure that others don't get tremendously distracted, so you can build your strategy out, you can build your vision out. I think one of the most difficult things about being in a CEO role is knowing when not to get involved. I mean, just let your people handle their areas in which they have been given accountability for and roll. And you find out who can do that, who can't, and then you get into the realm of getting the right team together. That requires a lot of replacements as well, right? But yeah, I mean, it's, there's no magic. Someone asked me one time if I come into every opportunity with a playbook, and the answer is no. I've got some things. You want to make sure the pillars of your company are in place, but every company is so different that you can't treat them all like they are a whatever XYZ widget. I mean, they're different markets, different people, different everything. So playbooks are tough, but finding the right people is the key combination, or part of the key in the combination of building a strong company. And that's the CEO's responsibility. You got to find those people.
I love the playbook of not having one playbook for 1,000 different scenarios, right? And I've learned that the hard way, not only business wise, but personally. It's always a different scenario. You need to stop yourself and ask yourself, okay, how am I reacting that time? I think having a diversity of playbooks is great. I think AI helps me having a diversity of playbooks. Very helpful to view life that way, not like a cookie cutter type of thinking. Now, you've been through the internet age. Do you view the AI age as something similar, completely different, or is it something that is going to change the course of the world and specifically also the business world?
Back in 2014, 2015, I was CEO of a company by the name of Adaptive Computing, and we were doing a lot of machine learning work, a lot of deep learning work. And, it was evident that machines could not just calculate things faster, but actually learn things faster. Now, in a world in which I'm in right now, we depend, solely on machine learning and AI to take geospatial imagery and to look at that geospatial imagery in a way, the same way every time, and extract information while it continues to learn itself, right? So I think AI is this buzzword right now. But for those of us who are really using it, it's taking everything that the internet allowed us to collect and catalog and making that accessible. At this company, Adaptive Computing, we did a lot with cancer research institutions around the world. And when you look at use cases, really, really strong use cases, AI is ideal for running simulations or learning from those simulations. Now, that's ideal. Yeah, it's great that you can put in and prompt and it'll write a letter or write a poem. I have, I'm at a stage in my life where I have grandkids now, and it's fun to sit with them and have AI create a story about them with prompts that they come up with, and all of that's wonderful. But I think AI in and of itself is changing the world. It is amazing what's happening month after month after month from a learning perspective. The large language models in the stock market, look what happened to the stock market today, simply because DeepSeek was announced, and China is promoting that. There is a race to the moon, if you will, for AI, and same thing happens all the time. We're going to get there, and we're going to find that it's the collective, not the single individual platform, that really is going to make the difference. And God forbid that one day we all start sharing not just technology, but information with each other. I had somebody from the University of Copenhagen who did a tremendous amount of research on cancer tell me one time that if all the entities that are doing research on cancer would just share their data with each other, we would find a cure for most cancers. And I just remember that. Even though it was like 9-10 years ago that they told me that, we're at a stage where we can do that now, where we can analyze things so quickly, where we can have a system that learns. So AI is going to be in its heyday when we all start realizing that it's information that drives it, and we need to share that information wherever we can.
DeepSeek, what's your opinion on that? When I tried it, I wasn't impressed as per its output, as per its UX. I had trouble signing up, actually. And then what I found pretty cool about it is that it showed its thinking, right? It was built on $5 million. That's impressive, but I love testing stuff as a user and making my thesis off that, my investment thesis. So it was pretty cool that it was showing its thinking. Because the user said that, I will go with that route. I found that authentic, pretty transparent, but on the other hand, I'm not bullish about it because it's China-based, right, with the firewall and all that. Its mathematical algorithms are also way more advanced, which could have some applications on the stock market. What have you analyze of that? I find it pretty silly that Nvidia and all these top stocks drop all of a sudden.
Yeah, I have not used it enough to draw a conclusive decision on, is it so much better than Gemini or Claude or Chat GPT. I do, and there's also right now the inherent problem that it accesses your Gmail account as well, right? So I would caution the use of it. But look, did we all sit around and think that China was not going to come out with something just absolutely as differentiating as they possibly can? I mean, we figured they would, and when this dropped, um, I don't think it's going to disrupt the world. I think it's going to spur innovation. And again, I mean, you go back to early days of space race, internet race, whatever race you want to look at. It's these type of things that push the metas and push the Googles and Amazons to up level their platforms, and they will. I mean, they'll up level, and right now I'm trying to figure out how to use all of the various large language models, generative AI models, or platforms to check each other. So you limit your amount of wrong data or input being incorrect. That's the big thing for me, because we've got to have correct data going in, because we provide mission critical information for large insurance companies. And right now, DeepSeek, we'll see how it all plays out. Certainly, I don't know why the stock market got hit so bad. I mean, you're going to need GPUs. I don't know why NVIDIA got hit, but every other tech company got hit because of a fear, right? I mean, no, I need to play with it a little bit more, but I don't think it's going to disrupt the world. I think it's going to push the world in the silo of innovation. It's a good thing.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I think you can't have a technological moat, even if you try to hide your technology. China is good at copying, and you know what? I don't have any problem with that. You can copy, paste, improve if you give credits to people. We can build in an open source environment. I think that's the direction the world should take. I love the word arm race, but it's like also, okay, the world is fueled on testosterone, innovation is fueled on testosterone, right? Couldn't we compete and cooperate at the same time? So brings these question into me. But one thing's for sure, ChatGPT has 300 million weekly users. I don't think they're about to go away. So people should think about that before making decisions on their stock. Now, I want to talk about your company. It's quite fascinating. Do you use like SpaceX data? Like, who is the satellite provider of imagery? And tell me about the value of that, because it's one value out of their decision stacks, right? The insurance companies and how they will how their policies will pan out. Is there really value out of just getting satellite data? And also, why drone don't do that? Because that would provide like a 3D image of their properties. Lots of questions into there. You can start any way you want to go.
Well, so Arturo is a company that does use geospatial imagery, and when we analyze it with our models, we've got 30, 35, 40 models that we use and that we update on a regular basis that are AI driven to extract the data that we're looking for. The majority of our imagery will come in at 7 centimeter. So 1 pixel on your screen represents 7 centimeter of a surface, as opposed to like satellite that's 30 centimeter. We need very detailed imagery in order to extract the data so that we can provide the insights and decision-making capabilities to our customers. So aircraft, Vexel, for example, is a company that has a fleet of aircraft, and they fly on a regular basis many areas: the U.S., Asia, Australia, parts of the rest of the world, but we can take their imagery that is, again, very, high fidelity, high definition, high resolution, and we use that data. Drones, if we could get drone data for everything, we'd be at 2 centimeter, and we would be able to extract just incredible detailed information from real property, because we focus on real property. So right now we go in and we take a geospatial image, and we're looking for what type of roof, the size of the roof, ridge line, area of the roof. We're looking for the material type. We're looking to see if there are cracked tiles, missing tiles, if a shingle on your home is buckled, or just the edges are kind of pilling up a little bit. Are gutters clogged? Do you have a trampoline that's not tethered? Do you have a swimming pool that doesn't have a fence around it? All of these things go into the policy of your home when you're getting insurance. And there's an interesting thing that is just at the heart and center of this world right now. Wildfires in LA that we're dealing with have brought to light something that we've been dealing with in Australia for a long time with bushfires. One of the things that we look for and have looked for a long time is defensible perimeter for fire. One of the things that have saved so many homes is you just have like a 25, 30-foot defensible space instead of letting just the tree line just grow right up to your house. I mean, it's cool to walk out in your backyard and be surrounded by trees, or, to have trees overhanging your home. All of that's fantastic. But in the case of a fire, it's also fuel. In the case of a storm, in which you have high winds, let's just say not a tornado, not a hurricane, I mean, just straight winds like the Santa Anas or whatever, that can blow a 2,000-pound oak tree branch to the point where it breaks and, causes $60,000 worth of damage on your roof. So these things we're looking for, and we actually help our customers evaluate individual properties for those things. Like, hey, in this house, if the owner would cut back the trees a bit, form a defensible space, if they tethered their trampoline, if they put a fence around their pool, if they clean their gutters, these things that on the surface, they're maintenance, right? But lack of maintenance accounts for billions of dollars a year that's paid out in insurance claims that you could save simply by, if you have a shingle that is missing, replace it. $200, replace your shingle. If you have a tile that's missing or cracked, replace it before you get water damage throughout your roof and in your attic. These little things, a 50-cent nail tacking down a shingle that's bent up a little bit, that in a storm will receive, it protects your home, but it's going to receive the wind coming in, and it just like works its way and then comes up, and as soon as it comes up, it takes all the shingles behind it, and then all of a sudden you've got a $15,000 bill that either you pay or your insurance pays, and a 50-cent nail would have just made it to where it would have never happened. So we use imagery to look at all of that stuff in that detail. We pull 160 attributes, 160 things like pools. What does the yard look like? Do you have abandoned vehicles kind of in your yard? I mean, all these things play into what are you going to pay for your insurance?
You have nuclear waste in your backyard.
We're working on
it. Fascinating. Thanks, Marty, thanks for today. Where can people find out more about you and your company?
Well, Arturo.ai is the website. And I encourage you to take a look at it because it's squarely in the middle of everything right now. Because if you can't get insurance on your home, you can't get a mortgage. And if you lose insurance on your home, that creates a significant problem for the mortgage industry, right? So although we provide this information day to day, there's ways for you to look at your home, like even with us, look at your home in a way that you've never looked at it before, or for your insurance company to provide you with the information so you can look at it differently. So yeah, check out Arturo.ai, and it's been a pleasure being with you today, Charles.
Marty Smuin and Charles